Hello there, stranger. Welcome to the Steel City Electrodes channel. I'm your host, Organizing Secrets, and I'm really excited for today. Usually I'm really big on pre-scripting stuff, but I'm just gonna kind of let it ride. I have some notes to talk about. I'm gonna try to edit out as much of my vocal pauses and screw-ups as possible. We're just gonna let it rip. I'm here today on this new channel, actually, because I am just getting into Pokemon Draft Leagues. Draft Leagues, for instance, are, for those of you who don't know, you kind of enter a league with a multitude of other teams, and each person gets to draft a Pokemon. For instance, if I was to draft a Charizard, no one else of the other 7-8 players, however many players were playing, none of them would be allowed to use Charizard, and it'd just be mine. So you kind of have to build these teams that aren't exactly ideal. You can't get all the super powerful Pokemon because you have to draft each one in a different rounds. Kind of like a sports draft, I suppose, for those of you who know about that kind of stuff. And you kind of then, face each team over the next couple of weeks, and you kind of try to counterpick what you think they're going to pick and what you think you can get away with the strategy from your team. And we did a draft, and I got lucky, I suppose, and got some pretty cool mons. And we're going to go over that today. I'm going to go over what I drafted. And honestly, I'm hoping this is kind of a new phase for me. I've never really done draft leagues before. This is my very first draft league, and I'm hoping to record the entire process from now, where I'm a complete beginner, both in competitive Pokemon and draft battling, the whole way down, maybe a few years down the line. I maybe even win one of these things. Wouldn't that be fun? So yeah, I hope everyone's really, really excited. Oh, by the way, oh yeah, you guys see that? There we are. That's us, the Steel City Electrodes. Represent. My logo is badass. Obviously, for those of you who know me in real life, Voltorb/Electrode's my favorite Pokemon. Roughly, I'm from the Pittsburgh area, so I kind of got the old Pittsburgh Steelers/Steelworkers logo, and, threw some Electrodes on it. It came out so great. Alright, that reminds me, I should probably tell you the name of the draft I'm in. This is the Galarian Dynasty Draft, the GDD. It's got some interesting stuff. It's got some stuff I'm going to have to explain to you. So, as you can see, with my chalkboard behind me, get ready to learn. So first of all, this is a Gen 8 Nat Dex League. Specifically what that means is we are playing up to the Sword and Shield games. But Sword and Shield is when not all of the Pokemon started showing up in the games, right? They started kind of not using the entire Pokedex. Nat Dex means that we will be using all the different Pokemon that weren't in the game. If they were dropped in the previous gen, they'll kind of have slightly updated movesets. You do have to play this on Pokemon Showdown, which is the online Pokemon battling app. It's unofficial, not by Nintendo itself, but it's very, very popular for those who know, and I guess I'm letting people who don't know. This is a Dynasty Draft, which to my knowledge is something that the admins for this group created, though it may be something else. I've never seen this before. The idea is that we will each team will get to choose 3 of the Pokemon that we've drafted, and we lock them down for 3 seasons. So if I get to pick 3 Pokemon at the end of this season, and they will be with me for 2 more seasons after this that no one will be allowed to draft or trade for. They become the core members of my team. So I get to play this entire league. This season, I get to decide the 3 different Pokemon that I want to carry on with me to the next couple of seasons, and they become my boys and my core team. So I think that's really cool. It's something I haven't really seen before in my limited time watching drafts, and I just think it's going to be really cool to keep people around for more seasons. We were allowed to draft 11 Pokemon altogether. They were divided into multiple tiers. We were allowed 2 S tiers, 2 A tiers, 3 B tiers, 2 C tiers, and 2 D tiers. However, partway into the draft, the admins did decide that you could get rid of a higher tier pick to get an additional lower tier. For instance, I didn't get 3 B tiers. I ended up getting 3 C tier Pokemon instead because there were some types down there that I wanted instead. I don't believe many other people broke from this format, but I did myself, and I wanted to let you know that. But yeah, so what they did is they gave us each we got a spreadsheet on Google Sheets, and it had the list of all the different Pokemon. I'm not going to show it because that's their own private stuff that they worked on, and I'm not going to show the document itself, but we got to draft different Pokemon from these different categories. Now, this was a snake draft, which means it went 1 to 8, 8 to 1, meaning the 1s and the 8s got 2 in a row, and it kind of went back and forth. I was 5th in that, so kind of right in the middle. I got some decent stuff, I'd like to think. Was not my favorite spot. I would have rather had one of the M's. Either 1 or 8 would have been fine with me, or 2 or 7. That 3, 4, 5, 6 range wasn't super great, which I was obviously in, but it is what it is. That's just personal preference. Like I kind of mentioned before, there will be 8 teams, so I believe I will get to face the other 7 teams over the next 7 weeks, and then we will go into a proper playoffs, which will be super fun. I doubt I'm going to get into the playoffs because these guys have drafted some really fucking cool teams, but I am hoping, fingers crossed, because you don't know how busy things are going to be, but I am hoping that beyond this draft video and then doing the videos where I show off my battles, I also am hoping each week to do watch-alongs of the other 3 matches that will be happening each week, where I kind of watch them. They do plan to save the battles in our Discord so that we can then go back and watch them and kind of scout out our opponents. I'm hoping to watch those, maybe provide some feedback, something fun we get to do. So even if I do get my butt kicked and I get kicked off and you're still looking for this content, those of you following along, I hopefully can still cover the playoffs after it's all done, even if I don't make it in. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this too. Let me talk about the usual banned stuff. By this, I mean we do have the item clause on, which means no duplicate items, and there are just a few items that screw with accuracy that are not allowed. Sleep clause, where only 1 Pokemon can be put asleep at a time on an opponent's team. The old evasion clause, where you can't buff your evasion. Swagger clause, no using swagger or flatter. You cannot baton pass stats, you can only drive baton pass. No one-hit KO moves like Sheer Cold. This is an interesting one. Moves from past generations they got rid of, because they got rid of a bunch of moves in Gen 8, but moves from the previous gens, you can still use them in Pokemon Showdown sometimes, such as Return or Hidden Power, and we are still allowed to use those moves in this league. And then besides that, there are just a couple of Pokemon that can't use certain moves or some certain abilities that can't be used. But I'm not really going to go into it because I don't want to list all that off. Oh yes, I should also mention, even though it is Gen 8, we do get a Mega Pokemon. You did not have to download, or you did not have to draft a Mega Pokemon, but you were allowed to get one if you want. Only one, you couldn't get 2, and then choose one for the week. You could only get one in your team overall. But I think that's really cool, especially with the new Legends game coming out soon. Megas are kind of back in style. It's really fun to get to play with them. Also this though, we also get a Z-Captain. We are allowed to choose one Z-Captain. They can only be a B-tier Pokemon or below, but you are allowed to put a Z-Crystal on them, which were used in the Sun and Moon games, and you are only allowed to use offensive Z moves. I've never played Sun or Moon or Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon. It's the only generation that I kind of skipped. I was busy in whatever life stuff I was doing, and I've never gotten around to playing them, so I know very little about Z-Crystals, so I'm kind of excited to try out Z-moves, and I'll let you know what my Z-Captain is here in a little bit. And then the final thing is that even though we are Gen 8, there is no Dynamax or G-Max, so we aren't going to be like getting all big and stuff. Megas and I guess the Z-Crystal are kind of the gimmicks for this. So even though Gen 8 was all about Dynamax or G-Max, none of that, which honestly, fair, wasn't my favorite gimmick ever. And with that, let's go over our number 1 draft pick. We do have Beamone the Driller, the Mega Beedrill. Yes, he was our first round draft pick. That is a Gurren Lagann reference to Simone the Digger. Kind of a big old mecha anime fan, so I wanted to get a little bit of a reference in there. He is an A-tier Pokemon. I actually skipped out on S-tiers to get my Mega. I really wanted Mega Beedrill for a lot of reasons. The memes that are going around right now on the various Pokemon subreddits probably didn't help. Everyone doing fucking memes about him kind of put him in my sights. Let's see here. He is also a Bug Poison type. Not the best typing in the world. I'm not gonna lie to you. Bug Poison isn't breaking any hearts. The bug's doing very little for him. Poison's okay, but Bug, we're not getting a lot of use out of that, but it is what it is. More importantly, Looking at that stat spread over there that I definitely didn't just rip from Smogon, we got some good stats there. And by good stats, I mean we just have attack and speed. Do not look at any of those other stats. You see that defense stat? Don't look at it. You see that HP stat? Don't look at it. You see that special defense stat? Look at it a little bit, but don't really. Mega Beedrill is probably not a great Pokemon. He probably shouldn't have been my first pick. But I wanted him. I wanted memes. I wanted something that could potentially just sweep a whole team if I get really lucky. Like, there's a chance that I can just fucking grip it and rip it. Throw him in right at the beginning of the battle. Mega Evolve. Maybe get a Fell Cutter, Fell Stinger off, and just go. You never know. I doubt it, but we'll see. I also do plan on using him kind of as a pivot mon, though, and I think for me to use Mega Beedrill well, I'm going to have to predict opponents, whether they're switching out, what they're going to put in, and what they're going to bring for the week. And that's probably going to be really easy, right? It's not like I'm a complete beginner to competitive Pokemon or anything, and I've totally done a bunch of draft leagues. This is going to go great. This is going to go awesome. But that said, yes, U-Turn and Fell Stinger are probably going to be my big bug-type moves. Definitely going to rely on those a lot. U-Turn for pivoting. Fell Stinger does boost up your attack if you get a kill with it. Could do some memes with that. Poison Jab is basically our only viable physical poison attack, so we'll be doing that to hit with. I did forget about this. You do get Toxic Spikes with Beamone the Driller, old Mega Beedrill. So Toxic Spikes is honestly something we could do if we think we can set up spikes. I would love to get two layers of that up for Toxic. That would be amazing. And then, honestly, probably not the best idea, but it is an option. Mega Beedrill does get Roost. I don't think I'm ever going to get in a position where this thing doesn't get one-shot, but you know what? It could happen. I could be facing a really bulky team with a lot of heavy hitters, and maybe something hits it but doesn't kill it, and I can just Roost. That would be goofy. Something to think about. Either way, honestly, I really like Beamone the Driller, because this is a thing that, like I said, I can just put U-Turn on this. I can go out, I can get massive chip damage, and I'm looking to just cycle him in and out constantly, getting hits in on people. And then for our second pick, we have Atlas the Excadrill. Woo! Yes, so finally, we got an S-tier Pokemon. Excadrill, awesome. Ground Steel, fantastic typing. I did consider Atlas/Excadrill to be the steel part of my Steel Fairy Dragon core. I wanted to get a Steel Fairy Dragon core, and I wanted a Fire Grass Water core. I think that's something a lot of people in Draft consider to be almost essential. And so I tried to get all those types. I didn't necessarily get great Pokemon of those types, but I did. Excadrill, honestly, I think is a fantastic steel Pokemon. As you can see those stats off to the side. We've got okay speed. HP is really good. I forgot Excadrill. Ooh, say that 20 times fast. I forgot Excadrill had that much bulk on it. 110 HP is pretty great. Obviously, those defenses aren't great, but whatever. And then that attack stat just goes hard. I also forgot about this, but Excadrill does get Mold Breaker, which means I can be hitting Earthquakes on any Levitate mons, you know? Never gonna be upset about that. I was also, doing some research, and there are a bunch of different playstyles that I can use this thing for. Excadrill can be a utility mon, it can be a lead mon, it's a late game sweeper, so I can kit this thing out with different movesets, different stat spreads, and honestly, really keep people guessing. My stab attacks are probably going to be Earthquake and Iron Head. I might mix those up, but you just can't go wrong with those two. An Earthquake and Iron Head will knock the shit out of people. We do have Rapid Spinner on him. Rapid Spin, that will keep hazards at bay, which is fantastic. I think hazards could be real bad for my team, specifically since I have a lot of pivot mons, as you're about to see, and I don't want something like Beedrill taking too many Stealth Rocks. It does learn Sword Stance, so there is definitely a chance that I could do a Sword Stance set on this and get a late game sweep, depending on what mons they bring. We're also looking at Stealth Rocks and Toxic on my side, so honestly, I could throw up my own Stealth Rocks with this thing while removing other people's hazards, and you can even go a little more defensive with it and throw on Toxics and kind of try to stall things out. Just a really good mon overall. I can see why it was S tier. I was looking at a lot of the other S tiers, and some of them are, a lot of them, are megas and various legendaries. But this little guy was up there, and I was like, you know what? We're just gonna double up on the drills. And I'm not upset about it, honestly. I like what Excadrills bring to the table. I love this thing. I wish it had a pivot ability. We don't really have, we don't have like U-turn on here. We don't got, Volt Switch, nothing like that. I would have loved something like that, but I guess it doesn't really need it. I can try to use other pivot Pokemon to get this guy out here, then he can do what he needs. And then I guess if I have to dry switch something just raw, then I do that. And for our third pick, we have Vega the Blaziken. Yep, there we go. I got us an actual starter Pokemon. Super fucking cool. This is not Mega Blaziken, obviously. Someone else could have taken Mega Blaziken, I don't remember, but I was allowed a regular Blaziken. This is another S-tier Pokemon. Firefighting, which is super cool. It's the only fighting Pokemon I got, which sucks because fighting is like my favorite type. And it's also, I think, the only fire Pokemon I got, so it is the fire member of my Fire, Water, Grass Core. Definitely good types that I wouldn't mind having more of, but, we'll let it ride, this thing has fantastic attack and special attack, so honestly, I could bring a physical or a special-based Blaziken any day and really throw people off. So that's something I always have to keep in mind, and my opponents have to keep in mind. If I have an opponent who has a lot of big physical tanks, maybe I show up with a special attack Blaziken that day. Ooh, and my ability is also Speed Boost, so honestly I could throw Protect on this thing, and then I am just boosting up my speed, because obviously 80 speed's not super great, and my defenses and health are kind of okay, but my speed is effectively 160 after that first turn, and it's only going to keep going up from there, so something to keep in mind. Let's see, as for rolls, this thing can always be a Swords Dance Sweeper, just a regular old cleaner, or a Wall Breaker, depending on how I build it. As I've already mentioned, Protect and Swords Dance are kind of its big utility moves. As far as physical attacks, we've got Flare Blitz or Blaze Kick for the fire side, depending on what I want as my special effect, and I also have Close Combat, so that makes up Physical Stab. There's honestly a decent chance that against some people, I may just say fuck it, and we're running High Jump Kick, and hoping I not miss, because I like to risk it for the biscuit. And then if I'm bringing a special-based Blaziken, definitely a decent chance that I'm going to bring something more like Flamethrower or Focus Blast. Maybe Fire Blast, I guess. I don't know. I could go a little crazy with it, whatever. And this bad boy even gets U-turned, so pivot shenanigans. Never going to say no about that. And then for cheeky little coverage moves, there's a little bit of utility. Knock Off and Thunder Punch. Yeah, honestly, this... I know that, starters usually have pretty decent move pools. Blaziken gets a nutty, diverse move pool. And there is a lot of different stuff I could do, a lot of weird sets. I could make counter sets. There's just... You never know with this Blaziken. And depending on who I'm going against, or if I decide that Blaziken is going to headhunt a certain mon, I could put all sorts of weird bullshit on this thing. And then we got our fourth pick here, Mecha Gigan the Scizor. Yeah, that's right. Little Godzilla reference for some of you. I did get Scizor. He is my other A-tier pick besides Mega Beedrill, so kind of doubling up on the bug types, also doubling up on the steel types. So, Scizor type-wise didn't really give me much here. What it did give me is a fantastic fucking attack stat, yes, and defense is pretty good, and don't look at anything else. So what Scizor brings for us, though, it's a scary pivot mon, it's a cleaner, and it's a potential setup mon. So once again, just diverse roles that I can do with this thing. The big thing about it is that it's got U-turn. So U-turn, I'm switching in and out with that. Stab U-turn. We're also using moves like Dual Wing Beat, Bug Bite, and Metal Claw for Technician. That is right, Scizor is a Technician mon, so attacks with less than 60 or at 60 or less base power just get massive buffs, which kind of means Bullet Punch is super nasty. A priority move with Stab, with Technician, that makes Scizor a scary, scary thing. And then obviously, I've kind of mentioned it before, but it has Swords Dance for setup, Roost for healing, and I can even get Knockoff for, a little diversify damage type and to deny my opponent's items. Scizor is, like I said, it's a fun pick. I Thinking about it now, maybe should have gone with a different A tier. I could have probably gotten something else. There were definitely some legendaries in the A tier range. The decent, like weakish legendaries were in there, and then the strong ones were in S tier. And yeah, okay, so I went with a Scizor instead, and I already have a Bug, and I already have a Steel type. But I really wanted like a nice big front heavy attack core that could go fast. And obviously on paper, Scizor doesn't go fast. It's got 65 speed, but that bullet punch is nasty, and I want to make sure that I can keep pivoting with different mons with U-turn. I really, really, really want to kind of try and make hyper-aggressive pivot teams. It's kind of what I'm trying to focus on. And then for our 5th pick, we did get Brobat the Crobat. Hell yeah. Love this little bastard. This is a B tier, poison flying type. The poison's cool, but I mainly got it as a flying mon. It gets some pretty okay flying attacks, and I wanted that utility. So, obviously, looking at the stats over here, the speed on this thing is amazing, and the rest of the stats are okay. You know, specifically that attack. The attack is pretty decent, 90 attacks, nothing to sneeze at. I can throw some EVs in that, and we go to town, and everything else is just, it's okay. But it's a fast mon. It actually brings a lot of utility, though. It's got defensive utility, it's a decent revenge killer, and it even has some niche moves. You can also, honestly, run this thing bulky and try to Toxic Stall. Like, there is some weird fucking Crobat tech. First off, U-turn. You know, I'm just going to mention again, another U-turn mon, so I can switch this bastard in and out. If we're talking about our stab moves, I've got Brave Bird or Cross Poison for physical moves. We've got fun stuff like Roost and Defog, so this is yet another thing that can heal itself, and it's another mon that can get rid of hazards. And honestly, I was really excited about this, and this might be the main reason I got Crobat, but it knows Super Fang. Now, for those of you who don't know, Super Fang, whenever it hits, I think it's got 90% accuracy, so it does miss on occasion, but whenever Super Fang hits, it takes your opponent down to half of their current HP. So someone could bring in fucking Snorlax with a bazillion HP, or a Chansey, or a Blissey, or whatever. And as long as Brobat nails that fucking Super Fang, they're down to 50 HP right there. Then I can just U-turn, bring something else out, and boom. Ugh, so excited. Super Fang is cheeky, but, and this isn't something I knew until I really looked into it a little further, I have seen people run nasty plot sets with this, and they instead turn Crobat into a special attack mon after it sets up with nasty plot. That's fucking nutty. That could be something we do. If we did that, you'd be looking at stuff like Hurricane, Sludge Bomb, Heat Wave, and then like maybe Giga Drain, and oof. So honestly, yes, I know, once again, I drafted another pretty fast Pokemon that isn't super crazy elsewhere. I really like fast Pokemon. I really love speed control. But I think it's got excellent utility. I think it's got great stuff. The flying moves and stuff. Crobat's got what we need. And we've got our 6th pick, Reptilicus the Haxorus. Reptilicus being a reference to that old, cheesy monster movie from like the 70s, 80s that tried to be a Godzilla ripoff. I think it's from the 70s. Oh, good times. Haxorus is a B-tier mon, just dragon, nothing else. It is the dragon member of my Steel Fairy Dragon Core, which probably isn't great. There are definitely way better dragon mons, but this is what I have. As far as the stats go, you can look at that attack stat and nothing else. I kid for the most part. The defense is salvageable, and that speed's deceptively better than you'd think, but this thing is here for 147 fucking attack. You want to kill things with this. Not bulk, though. This thing is Glass Cannon. As far as its role goes, this is only a sweeper. I don't think I can do anything else but sweep with Haxorus. If we're talking about setup moves, though, you don't have just one option with Haxorus. There's 2 different ones you could do. You got Swords Dance being the primary, but if you're looking to get some speed up, you could actually run a Dragon Dance mon instead, if you're trying to do that. On the other hand, Scale Shot is considered the primary stab move for Haxorus. The issue is that it's one of those hits 2 to 5 times moves, so it can be a little lackluster when it comes to damage, and you go down defense every time you use it, but you go up a rank of speed when you use it. So it's very much a gambling rolling of the dice. There may genuinely be times when I just go Outrage instead, and I just say, fuck it, we're just gonna go Outrage 3 turns in a row, just go. But also, if I have a hazards-heavy team, because that's definitely something I can run, I have a bunch of different mons that can set up hazards. If I'm feeling frisky, I could run Dragon Tail on him and just fucking cycle people through, assuming I can survive attacks. And just keep hitting them through the hazards. Something I might do. And if we're looking at its other moves, we do have Close Combat and we have Poison Jab, which great for coverage. And I was looking through the moveset, I saw a couple of other cheeky little sneaky moves, but I think I've pretty much covered what I'd like to use on this thing. Like I said, there were probably other better dragons I could choose, but this is the glass cannon, fuck it, we ball dragon, and for my first season ever, I'm just trying to be a goofball, and this sounds like it could be a lot of fun. And our 7th pick, Reginald the Appleton. Finally, a slow mon. So this is actually a C tier mon, and it's the C tier mon I chose instead of my 3rd B tier. So we're down a layer here. This is a grass dragon. I do not consider it to be my main dragon Pokemon. I definitely think Haxorus kind of fills that role better, but Appleton is going to be the grass member of my Firewater Grass Corps, so yay! Honestly though, not bad. He's bulky, and I wanted a bulky grass type, and that's what I got with him. If we're looking here, we have fantastic HP, like Bulk City, and our special attack also kicking it. And defense and speed, not the worst thing ever. Don't you ever look at that speed stat though. Don't look at it. This is the slowest Pokemon on our team, bar none. As far as its roles go, you are either getting a bulky wall breaker or you're getting a tank. You can't really do anything else with an Appleton. I should mention, I'm pretty much probably always going to be running thick fat on this thing, so I don't have a fire weakness at all. Actually, I think I have a fire resistance now, and ice is just 2 times effective instead of 4 times effective, so not the best with ice, but fire's pretty much out of the equation. Gotta love that. As far as its stab attacks go, you're getting Apple Acid and Dragon Pulse for your safe stab attacks, and then you get Draco Meteor as a nuke. If I remember correctly, Apple Acid is Appleton's, like, special. It's the only move that it learns, like, only an Appleton can learn. I'm pretty sure it lowers special defense, like, 100%, so definitely something to keep on him. It's just a solid, nice grass attack you can keep nailing and lowering special defense. It does get Recover and Leech Seeds, so I can stall with this bad boy like a motherfucker. And I wasn't thinking about this, but it is a Body Press mon. I could just crank the defense on this and just set up and boom. Body Press, Body Press, Body Press. It does get a few other niche utility moves, such as Substitute, so definitely some weird stally setup things I could do with this if I'm feeling cheeky. He's a goober. I love Reginald. I think he's going to be a fun member. I don't think I'll be bringing him consistently, but I think he has what it takes to pretty much take out any water-type bulkies that we'll be going against. We'll see, though. But he's our boy. He's our boy. And our 8th pick is Sister Ray the Clawitzer. Sister Ray being a reference to Final Fantasy VII, the big old cannon that is attached to Junon Harbor. Oof. Clawitzer is a mon. C tier, as we're still, still in that range. It is a pure water type. It is my only water mon. That's a little scary. I kinda should have probably got something else, but I have a Clawitzer. Special attack, amazing. Defense is serviceable. Everything else, don't look at it. Don't look at it. It is slow. It is not. It's not Appleton slow, but it's slow. However, it's got a certain little ability. Clawitzer is the only Pokemon that knows the Mega Launcher ability. And that's going to help us out. We'll go over that in just a second. As far as its role goes, it is a wall breaker. It's a slow wall breaker, but this thing is a literal cannon. It's just a fucking mortar. That's why I named it Sister Ray, after the big fuck-off cannon in Final Fantasy. So, this thing, you plant it, you aim it, you shoot it, and something dies. You know why? Because it learns Water Pulse, Dragon Pulse, Dark Pulse, and Aura Sphere. And those are considered quote-unquote pulse moves. Good old good old Mega Launcher that it learns boosts the power of those even further. I don't remember the exact amount off the top of my head, but I think it just like boosts it up another half step. So everything that you're doing with any of those moves is just gonna do like even more effective damage, and then stuff like Water Pulse is getting even buffed up even further from Stab. So you are kicking ass with this thing. Honestly, and I didn't know this either, you get Substitute and Toxic with this too, so you can do a Sub and Toxic set if you're feeling a little cheeky and want to play more of a defensive thing. I also didn't know this. It gets Laser Focus. Laser Focus sets it up so that your attack the next turn will be a crit hit. So I could bring this thing in on maybe a fire Pokemon that doesn't want to be there, and I know that fire Pokemon is gonna fucking dip. So then I use Laser Focus instead of trying to chip on whatever they're gonna switch in on, set myself up for a guaranteed crit, and then I just pick the best pulse move I have to do damage to whatever's in. Ugh, that'd be so fucking cool. And then, because I'm still being cheeky, Sister Ray will get U-turn, which means that I have a slow pivot mon, so that's... I could be like, Sister Ray can take a hit, and I'm just like, it's fine, we'll let it roll. I survive the hit, get the U-turn in, and then I switch right out to something else, probably Mega Beedrill, and just fucking rock shit. Kilometer's pretty cool. The only other time in my life, way back in like 2013, 2014-ish, when I kind of like played a little bit of Pokemon Showdown, I would use a Clawitzer, and I had a little bit of fun with it. I got some cheeky stuff in there, and it's honestly pretty much the main reason I got it again here, for nostalgia purposes. I hope this little bastard gets some kills. It deserves kills. Clawitzer is a straight up G, and I want to kill something with it. And then for our 9th pick, we do have Laurel and Hardy, the Galarian Weezing. Laurel and Hardy being the old comedic duo from way back in the 20s, 30s, 40s. Thought it was a nice little fun name. Like I said, this is a C tier. Poison Fairy. So this is the fairy member of my core that I was going for. Maybe not the best fairy ever, but maybe not the worst one ever either. I think a real fun thing about Galarian Weezing is that it has 3 abilities, and I think all 3 of them are good, depending on what I'm doing. I either get ground immunity, I shut down abilities, or I completely cut the power out of dragon types, depending on which ability I take. And I think that's a lot of fun. If you're looking at stat-wise, basically you got real good defense, you get either attack or special attack, and that's about it. Special defense isn't great, speed's not great, and HP deceptively low. You would think a Weezing would have a little bit more HP. It looks like a Pokemon with bulk. No, it does not. It has just defense. As far as rolls go, it's an excellent physical wall or utility mon, so I can either kind of just wall things off, or I can, do a couple of cheeky utility things. What we're looking at here is Sludge Bomb or Strange Steam for stab attacks. Strange Steam is its own little unique attack, a fairy attack, hits pretty hard, has like a 20-30% chance to confuse, so a little bit of sneaky stuff there, could get something fun there. It's another mon that gets Defog, so once again I can fuck over people's hazards, but it also gets Toxic Spikes, so I can create my own hazards. We're also looking at stuff like Will-O-Wisp if I want to burn a Pokemon to, lower its attack. Maybe someone's got a real heavy attacker in, I'm just like, nah, Will-O-Wisp, go fuck yourself. And then, honestly, and I want to pull this off at least once this fucking season, Pain Split. I want to get my HP super low with this thing, and then Pain Split and get a bunch of HP back. You're also looking at Clear Smog or Corrosive Gas, which screws with setup mons, because Clear Smog gets rid of any of their stat boosts they've got, and Corrosive Gas can get rid of their items. So setup mons or tricky items, I can just delete those. And then, I didn't know this either, but Galarian Weezing learns Misty Explosion, which is a fairy-based explosion attack that does even more damage if you set up the Misty Surge, the Misty Terrain, which is one of its abilities. So you can set that up, just use Misty Explosion and fucking delete something. And that would be hilarious. And I didn't know this either, but Galarian Weezing learns a move called Wonder Room, which switches its defenses. It can switch the opponents too, but it switches defense and special defense. So instead of having 120 in defense, I can suddenly just have 120 in special defense and say, all right, I can tank this instead. Then we've got our 10th pick, Bang Sphere, the Electrode. Yes, that's right, we got the mascot. I'm sure a lot of people are like, why did you get an Electrode? Electrode itself isn't good. Hisuian Electrode, though, is considered very great, but I couldn't not get our boy. So, he is D tier, and as you can see from that little item next to him, he is our Z Captain. Yes, I made the mascot our Z Captain. Should I have probably put it on someone else? Also, yes, but that's fine. I'll figure it out. We're here for fun, we're here for memes, we're here for Bang Sphere. It is our electric type, obviously. It's also our only electric type, and that makes me a little nervous, because electric is my second favorite type. I kinda wish I had a more heavy hitter, but we're gonna do what we have here. If you're looking at the stats, yeah, we will pretty much always be going first. And that's about it. Special attack, honestly, I think it's serviceable. I think I can keep him, especially if I can do a Z attack with him. If I use like an electric Z attack, I don't think his special attack really matters. But yeah, the rest of the stats obviously leave a lot to be desired. As far as his rolls go, we're looking at dual screens, pivot, or a cleaner. So, like I said, pivot, volt switch. This is my volt switch mon, so I can get him in there, always get the volt switch off, switch to something else, really fuck with people. Thunderbolt is obviously your main stab attack. It does learn Thunder, but 70% accuracy scares the hell out of me. But then I didn't know this. I was looking up different sets that people have used. And Voltorb, I love. It's my actual favorite Pokemon, but Electrode, excuse me. Electrode gets Reflect and Light Screen, and apparently a ton of people will use Electrode to be their screen setter-upper, their screen setup mon. And I think that's really fucking cool. Obviously, leave Explosion for memes, so if someone's pissing me off, I'm just like, boom, delete ya. It also gets Taunt, so we can really screw with utility mons, make sure people don't get hazards set up. I might bring in at least once. I want to hit something with a Zap Cannon. It's got 50% accuracy. I want to hit something with a Zap Cannon. Once again, this is probably another pick that I've done, like a few of my other picks, where I shouldn't have got Electrode. I probably should have went and got something else. There were definitely other electric types that were really good. I grabbed another quick pivot mon, but I'm telling you, my soul, it felt right in my heart, okay? I didn't draft him with my brain, I drafted him with my heart, and we're gonna see how things go. Please, everybody, root for your boy, okay? Everybody, root for Bang Sphere. He is a G, and he's gonna make things work. And now we have our final pick, the 11th pick of the draft for the Steel City Electrodes. We have Wham! The Exploud. Wham being an old band from the 80s. Fucking love those dudes. Real catchy shit. I just wanted to name them after a random band. So Wham! Exploud is my final D tier Pokemon, and it's just a straight normal type. Stat-wise, honestly, good HP. And offenses, go either way, you know? You got good attack, you got good special attack, defenses aren't great, and it's not the fastest thing, but it's not the slowest thing. It does have Scrappy as well, which is pretty much probably the only ability I'm going to run on it, so that ghost types don't get in the way. Mainly because it is a wall breaker mon who I want to be using Boom Burst with. Boom Burst is a normal type attack, and only 2 Pokemon can learn it and use it for stab, Exploud and Swellow, and I wasn't running a Swellow. So Boom Burst has like 140 base power, like I think 100 accuracy, and we'll be hitting that with stab, so it'll actually do more than 140. It'll do, 210? I think it'll be doing 210 base power when an Exploud uses it. That's nuts. That's fucking insane, and ghost types would normally be immune to that, and they'll just take the full hit now. Obviously, there are some other types that resist that, such as steel types, but Wham, Exploud gets to learn Overheat, so we fuck them over. And then you're like, oh, okay, but what about rock types? It also resists it. Cool, we'll just use Surf. We get Surf as well. And on top of that, honestly, it gets a lot of really good physical attacks too, because I could bring a physical Exploud instead and then just say, alright, cool, fuck Boom Burst, fuck Stab, and we use a bunch of other crazy things. I can basically run this as like a cheap pseudo-fighting type, if I want to. And it does get some sneaky potential setup mons, and there's a couple of things it can do with items, but like Exploud is pretty much here for Boom Burst and just grip it and rip it as a wall breaker. Once again, this is me drafting something with my heart. We were down in D tier, the final pick, and I wanted to play with something that I'd played with before. And much like Clawitzer, I had put Exploud on a team back in like 2013. and I wanted to do it again, you know? People, you don't see Xcloud in anything, ever. But I have a lot of faith in Stab Boomburst. I think that's a really scary thing, and I think people need to respect that. And I'm hoping that Xcloud puts the fear of God in them. And here's the squad. Obviously, we are all looking like a bunch of straight-up G's. I'm so excited. I have a bunch of sneaky ideas. I've seen my opponent's teams. There are some really scary teams, but I want to pull off some dumb, sneaky shit. I doubt that I'm going to, necessarily, but that's my intention. I want to do some crazy stuff. I want to pull off some insane strats, and I want to grow as a player. I'm hoping that all of you want to, watch me grow as well. Or, if you're one of my fellow competitors in this, maybe you just want to watch me do something goofy and then die. That's cool too. But I'm here, and I'm glad that you are here for the ride, This is the start of what is hopefully my Pokemon journey. The professor's there, they're handing me the Pokedex. It's like, oh, you're starting your professional Pokemon journey. Cool, well, that's me right now, guys. That's me. I'm taking my steps out of my little hometown. I'm starting my journey, my draft league journey. This very first video is the start of it. We have already gotten our opponents matched up for the first week. From the time of this recording, I think I have a match in a couple of days from now. Depending on how scheduling things work, it's either a couple of days to about a week from now. It is a scary-ass team. I've already started working on the visuals for that, and I've been doing a bit of scouting there. I think I'm in trouble. I think it's going to be fun. If you want to watch me get the pants kicked off me, please come back. Show up for the next round. If we're talking about our team itself, though, I was kind of going on a little bit of ramble there. We've basically got a really fast team, a couple of mid-speedy boys, and then like 2 fucking slowpokes. Not actual slowpokes, obviously, but a couple of slow hombres there. I really, really, really want to kind of try pivoting. I think that if I can pivot well and guess what my opponents are going to bring in, I really think I could play around opponents that might have better Pokemon than me because I can keep getting the right type, the right mon in there to take hits and to do hits. I do have a couple of wall breakers slipped into the rotation too, so the plan is pivot around a couple of my quick guys, wait for them to make a move, maybe wait till I get a kill or two, and then throw in one of my wall breakers, and I just want to fucking break the walls down Chris Jericho style. Honestly too, I really want to make a Beedrill sweep. I know that's greedy. I know it's stupid to be like, you can't go 6-0 with a Mega Beedrill. You can't expect to do that. I know, but I want to do it. Oh, I want to do it. I want that Mega Beedrill sweep. And then if we're looking at this, obviously I am missing a few core Pokemon archetypes. Like, I don't have a good Psychic type. I really don't have a good Psychic type. My dragons are lackluster. I don't have an offensive fairy Pokemon. I have a defensive fairy Pokemon instead. And my water Pokemon's not bulky. So, yeah, I'm not doing like super great. I guess if you want to say, my electric type too, it's quick, but it doesn't have power behind it. On the plus side, my Excadrill does exactly what a steel type needs to do. And I do have some really good mons there, but I am missing some key types and archetypes, but I was really trying to do a goofy draft. I want some goofy mons in here, and I really want to try weird stuff. And then finally, obviously, I just have to thank everyone for, watching this far. This was clearly just a big word salad ramble on my part. I wrote a couple of notes down to my phone. I built up these images here, and I was just going to talk until I was out of things to talk about. I, wasn't going to pace myself. I was just going to let myself ramble and go, and that's what I did. I hope it was entertaining enough. I hope to see you back here within a week or two when I put up the first battle video, and maybe you're cheering for me, maybe you're cheering against me, but I'd love to have you here. Since we're here, and you can see all my mons here, let me know what you think about the team. Maybe you happen to be a draft person who randomly sees this video, and I'd love for you to tell me how I kind of did. Obviously, you don't know what was and wasn't banned, and I'm not going to post the whole fucking rules and stuff, the proprietary tech from the admins of my draft league. But, just given that I had basically Gen 8, and then most of the the broken Megas were out, and then, the box art legendaries were out, and then a few other things like Mega Blaziken were banned. But, judging by what I had here, let me know how my team looks. Let me know how goofy and bad I did, because... But no, I really do appreciate you being here. I'm glad that you're here for the birth of this particular channel. Sure, I've recorded on my other Organizing Secrets channel, but this is time for the Steel City Electrodes, We're here, we're going to have fun, we're going to party. I just want to thank you. I want to thank you all for being here. I appreciate you for being here, and I hope you stick around. Alright, stay safe, everybody.